Ah, we are back to the mischievous twins again. It's funny because these two bumbles are about as troublesome as the trucks sometimes, in attitude and behavior. While working at the China clay pits, the twins became restless, but I don't see how, being that they loved making things as entertaining as possible. Ben was the first one to notify his twin about his upcoming idea.
"Listen, Bill," said Ben. "Can you hear something?" "What sort of something?" "Something different," replied Ben. "I can't hear anything different." "Exactly," huffed Ben. "Everything is the same. Sounds the same, looks the same. What we need is a surprise."
But before anything else could be said, the quarrymaster stepped in and informed them that Top Hat wanted to see them at Arlsburg Harbor. According to him, Edward was taking children on a special trip and needed the twins to look after the trucks while he was away. However, they only learned this once they got there. On their way over, they were babbling about what the topic of discussion would be.
"I wonder what we've done wrong this time," said Bill anxiously. "It must be you," replied Ben. "Why me?" exclaimed Bill. "I've not done anything."
Carlin's self-bickering is hilarious, especially for the fact that of how he's using his voice. "It must be you!" I also find it quite comical that these twins already have their expectations set to that both are in trouble. Like they know half the time all the delays are caused by them. At least they accept that to some degree. After being given their orders, they met Gordon at the Sodor Trading Company for directions.
"You must behave here. You're on the main line now."
"Actually, Gordon," giggled Ben, "when we saw you, we thought this was the scrapyard." Gordon was cross.
"Just make sure that my coaches are ready for my evening train."
And with that, the twins began taking care of the trucks. Unfortunately, the trucks could sense how inexperienced the two were and offered to direct them where to move them. Of course, it was only to play their own game, something both twins should have realized since they were masters of it themselves. When evening rolled around, everything was in disarray and nothing could be located properly. None of the workers on deck were happy. Guess who else wasn't happy?
Gordon and the passengers waited impatiently outside the station while Bill and Ben tried to sort things out. But by the time Gordon was able to leave, it was very late indeed.
No one said everything runs like a well-oiled machine. The next day, both Bumble twins were back to the China clay pits. However, right before they were about to start, Bill's driver discovered an incoming rockslide. I'm pretty sure this is not what the twins had in mind earlier the other morning, when they heard nothing was different from any other day. This was an intense and vastly superior situation that the twins knew otherwise was no joke. Quickly after, the alarms were sounding and they began rescuing multiple workmen. When the avalanche had finally ended, the damage was surveyed. Luckily, no one was hurt. Even after all that, the twins still joked with each other, recognizing this indeed was not their fault. They truly hoped the big man would understand. As for this particular incident, I understand freak accidents can occur, but I am curious as to whether or not there was anything that facilitated this. Yet there was no evidence of anything being the cause of this rockslide. It just feels random. Then again, I never worked in a quarry, so it's possible that this was a common thing.
Bill and Ben, you still have a lot to learn about cars, don't you? But you acted quickly and bravely in an emergency. So 3 cheers for Bill and Ben, our heroes. Hip hip hooray! Hooray! Hooray!
"Oh, thank you, sir," said Bill. "Being called heroes, well, it's a really nice surprise," laughed Ben.
Being that you two normally don't get 3 cheers, I could see why. This was a fun little story for several reasons. The use of characters might be minimal, but the execution of it was entertaining. Fans of the show know Bill and Ben can be a bother. Their jokes sometimes can go too far and bug the living heck out of anyone dealing with them. Oddly enough though, this story doesn't have the twins playing any tricks. Not once. They wanted to, but were never given the chance. Instead, they got pranked by the trucks, which more or less share the same goofy qualities as they do, except Bill and Ben were naive enough to believe them. My question is, don't they have troublesome trucks at the quarry? Either way, though, it was funny watching the twins get caught in their own web of trickery. As for Gordon, who was really the only other engine to have any part in this narrative, his interactions with the twins have always been hilarious. The twins, quote-unquote, confusing him for scrap was also mentioned in Season 2 in the Wrong Road episode. Carlin's voiceover for both the twins and Gordon are such a laugh. Carlin's voice is gruff enough to make Gordon sound like a grumpy grandpa, while the twins are squealy enough to just sound so goofy. For music, there wasn't a whole lot of variety, but what was used worked. Since this story revolved around Bill and Ben, it's obvious their signature cue will be heard. It's utilized almost everywhere, from beginning to end, as well as being mixed in with the busy theme and the incidental music. Now as for set designs, this was something fresh. Although the Sodor China clay pits, the Arlesburg Harbor, and the Sodor Trading Company have all been featured before this, many new angles are added to give the viewer a better idea of what surrounds these locations. Arlesburg Harbor has rail lines running right next to buildings. I know this happens in real life, but that looks insanely close. Imagine that being like a school classroom or something and you have a tank engine blow right by your window. And for the China clay pits, we get to see more equipment. But what really makes this episode different from all the rest is the rock slide that occurs. Remember what I've said before about seeing all kinds of weather affecting the terrain and such? Well, the rock slide filmed for this entry is crazy. All the stones, dust, and collateral damage that occurs is action-packed. And again, these set pieces might be made of light materials such as foam or plastic and cardboard, but the sound effects used make these scenes feel quite like the real thing. As bad as natural disasters are, it was spectacular to watch. Next episode is Percy, James, and the Fruitful Day. Thanks for watching.